Wow, what a group we have online. That's great. And I'd like to call attention to the fact that I have drawn somebody all the way from Switzerland today. Okay, I lied. You didn't come from Switzerland. Hi. So I began to take a look at the theme for this month, which is holy boldness and sacred audacity, and those are biblical, scriptural ideas that came about because in the early days of Christianity, if you stood up for your faith, you were risking your life. So you were really being very bold to say, "Hey, I'm Christian," because inevitably that would put you in a very bad spot, like being fed to lions and stuff like that. So we don't have that problem, at least not here and now anyway. There are some places in the world where if you stood up and said, "I believe in this" or "I believe in that," you could still get yourself in trouble. But what I would like to take holy boldness and sacred audacity into is the idea of how much of what we believe we're willing to be public about. To be public about it, to be open, above board, not to keep it hidden. Because I noticed that although I talk a lot about what I believe to people, I very rarely say to people, "I am God." Because I think they might take that wrong. But isn't that really the basic idea? Yeah. The basic idea of this is that I am one with Spirit. In fact, we are all one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what makes it difficult to actually own up to that. What it makes it difficult for us to be full of holy boldness and sacred audacity. Now, the primary meaning of the word audacity is the quality of being bold. I like that. Yeah. Being brave in an unexpected ways. And the other meaning of boldness is that you stand up for what you believe regardless of the consequences. In other words, you're willing to put your beliefs are more important than your safety. That's interesting. I don't know if I'm quite bold enough. I need to be bolder, I think. So for a science of mind enthusiast, sacred audacity is all about the courage required to be public about our spirituality and to be spiritually authentic in public. So to reach into our inner selves and find the strength to say to everyone, "I am God." Can you say that? I am God. No doubt about it. So this is a much bigger assertion than it appears. As the Persian poet Hafiz put it, "If you are not dancing for joy right now, you have forgotten who you really are." So I expect to see us all dancing for joy at the end of this speech. Okay, I can't do a good demo today because my knee's bothering me a little bit, but I'll do a jig at least. So for me, the main way to be bold in my personal experience is to state out loud what my true self is, my God self, and letting everyone know the real me with the capital R. In Science of Mind, we have the small r stuff, that's on this plane, and then the big R stuff, which is on the spiritual plane. I know it's an artificial thing, but I kind of like it. So the real me with a big R. So we often speak of being the child of God. Now that doesn't work, does it? Because if you are God, you can't be his kid. No, this is how we speak and how we think about who and what we are is important. So we often speak of being one with Spirit. Everybody here said that at least once in your life? I am one with Spirit, I am one with God. What the heck does that mean? And that's a very important thing for us science of minders, because what we think and what we believe is what creates our experience of life. So you must have a clear idea of what you're talking about when you say, oneness. And it's an elusive concept. I'll give you an example. And these are just some attempts of defining this very difficult to define or perhaps undefinable idea of a relationship with spirit, a relationship with the universe, which, by the way, already is in trouble. If you have a relationship with something, it's separate from you. No. How do you talk about it? So, and all of these attempts of definition have one untrue characteristic, and that is they all kind of in one way or another imply that you are not God. So here we go. Ernest Holmes said, there is God and then there's everything else. He said, there is but one mind, there is nothing but unity. And Thomas Troward, who is my favorite New Thought philosopher, said, the originating life principle is infinite, a single unit. And he also said, he said lots of things, but this one is not Thomas Troward. This is Marcus Aurelius from about 100 of the Common Era now. And he was an emperor of Rome. And he said the part about being one that's difficult to embrace. Okay, he said, all things come from one source, from that ruling reason of the universe, either under a primary impulse from it or by way of consequence, and therefore the gape of the lion's jaws and poison and all noxious things such as thorns and mire are but the results of the grand and the beautiful. Look not then on these as alien to that which thou dost reverence, but turn thy thought to the one source of all things. And that's, I am saying to myself, is the critical element that is missing from my life. I have not been turning my mind, my thought, to the one source of all things at all times. I allow myself to drift into duality because it's so much easier than trying to stay focused on that big R. So what do we really mean when we say we're one with spirit? What is unity? What is oneness? Is it that we can occasionally feel a sense of belonging, a sense of security in spirit? Well, I'll tell you already, that's not it. Because a feeling may indicate something, but it isn't the thing we're talking about. Feeling is your reaction to something, not what it is. What does oneness mean? Something such much, much bigger. I don't know. The dictionary is not very helpful in getting a grip on oneness. This is my favorite. The dictionary says that oneness is the quality of being one. How helpful? I mean, is that helpful? Okay. It is uniqueness or individuality. Now that's the opposite of unity, right? Uniqueness, individuality is the opposite of what we're talking about. Sameness. Oneness is equal to sameness. Now this is a very slippery concept and very slippery definition because in my experience, nothing is ever exactly the same. 300 people read a book, they all read a different book. Can't step into the same river twice. Nothing is ever the same. A strong feeling of closeness or affinity. A feeling may indicate, as I said, what we're talking about, but it is not what we're talking about. Unity of thought, feeling, belief, agreement. But unity of thought and belief and agreement are all very tenuous and short term, and they are not capital R things. They're small r things. And in fact, when we look at these definitions, we can see that they're not really about spiritual oneness at all. They even contradict the idea of spiritual oneness. So let's turn to ancient writings and philosophies for help and see what they tell us. The Vedanta Hinduism states, all living things are spiritually interconnected and there is oneness in everything. Okay, what's wrong with that? Well, the thing is interconnected. You can't interconnect things unless they're already separate. So we're not interconnected. We are one. That's why I got to spend so much time getting my mind and my heart and my soul focused on this oneness idea. Because if I'm going to say I am God, I have to know what that means. I have to know how that, not only how it feels or what I think it ought to be, but what it actually means at my soul's level. So Taoist monism, which was a group of philosophies among the Greeks, and they postulated all things are really one thing. And some believe, as we do, that all is only mind. So they proposed that and lived it, and that was their main philosophy, and solipsists, they were called. Taoism says all reality must be unchanging, infinite, and indivisible. The Buddhists say oneness is empty of artificial distinctions. Spirit, body, and mind are all one thing, not separable. Good definition. Zen Buddhism says everything that seems to be outside of you is in reality a part of you, or inside of you. Yeah. I like that because if I could really encompass that inside my own heart and soul, that every bit of who and what you are is actually a part of me. Every bit. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Every bit. I am God is so big and so large that I need to be really incredibly bold to say that. I need to be audacious, to be courageous. And since oneness is only spirit and nothing else, we have to look at the inference of that. I am not a created thing. If I am God in expression, I always have been, I always will be. I wasn't created. I am not a product. I am God. Holy moly. That is huge. That is monster-sized. Humongous. Where did we ever get that word? I'm not sure that's real. So I boldly state I was not created. I'm eternal and infinite. I must by definition have always been and always will be. My physical, finite, expressed self is formed of the substance of God. I, you, all of us spiritually live as the big, the one. We can play small. You can pretend you're little if you want. But if we really believe what we're talking about in here, we want to be able to say out loud, I'm God in expression. I'm the big R. I'm infinite, immortal, eternal. I'm huge. So why am I not living that way? Everybody's got to take that class in getting rid of limited thinking. That's why I'm not living that way. So as Ernest Holmes said over and over and over, we are God. Our spiritual selves are God. Our spiritual selves have no beginning, no end, no time, no space. It is far beyond the scope of my brain's imagination to conceive of what we really are. We're trying to use words to describe something that we cannot experience in time and space. Somehow, I believe you have to get outside of time and space to experience your oneness. I had an internal hypnotherapeutic session once where I asked the person that was doing the session, I said that what I wanted to do was get in touch with God and have God show me the interconnectedness of everything. That's the way I thought in those days. I spent almost 2 hours with my arms up in the air, lying on my back, unmoving, looking totally weird. And when I got out, all I could say was, I couldn't explain what I'd seen. I couldn't explain what I'd experienced. I had no words for it. No words. So how do we maintain and sustain that in a brain that's always active and trying to find a way out or a way in or a way around? That's a challenge, huh? I am giving you a challenge. How bold can you be? How insightful can you be? How uplifted can you be? How sacredly audacious can you be? So how clear is your knowing of who and what you really are? Am I part caterpillar and part butterfly? Probably, huh? If I have not fully embraced my sacred audacity, how do I fully get out of my cocoon and into my truth? I think I begin by singing from the rooftops.
Good.